All right, hello guys. Making sure you guys can hear me, right? All right, that's perfect. All right. Thanks for the introduction, Steve. My name is Jose. I'm a gaming expert, evangelist for Microsoft. So I run a lot of gaming logistic, events, tournaments, things like that. I am working with Steve in the virtual reality space, augmented reality, mixed reality, talking about meetup groups. They've had their groups at my store. We've done demos with the HoloLens 1, sessions, educational information, things like that. Today's the HoloLens 2, which just came out not too long ago, and Microsoft level of enterprise of how it's going to benefit corporate companies and how they're going to extend that kind of technology to hospitals, education, and things like that. HoloLens 2 has been a great device so far, a whole re-engineering design to it because the first generation there was a lot of issues with comfortability on the headset, battery life, performance, things like that. So they revamped it, better battery life, much more comfortable in your head, more aerodynamic design. So you don't feel like it's sitting on your head all day. And it's also great for if you're doing developer or commercial kind of work. I know on the first generation they had a commercial level and a developer's kit. Now they just have a HoloLens 2. And it's only right now meant for business. Right now the military is also buying into a lot of it. So it's getting very, very popular as far as traction and retention. There's a lot of customers going back and buying more of it just because it's working pretty well for their business. Right now I'm going to segue into some cool videos, getting you guys into a more introductory level of what HoloLens 2 is for people who haven't seen it. This is a cool video showing you the first release and announcement of what Microsoft was doing with it. So that was a very cool video. I thought it showed a lot of parts and bits. It was just kind of like a cool sneak peek introductory of what the HoloLens 2 is. You notice on the headset in the back is pretty much where the battery is. In the first generation, they've put the battery pretty much around the headset, but now the battery's in the back. You see more padding in the front, so it's more comfortable in your face, so it's not weighing down your head. As you can see, that eye tracking moment, they've added eye tracking to the headset. Before, first generation didn't have it, second generation does now. So it's a little bit more intuitive as far as making you have those transitions in those moments. So that being said, it has eye tracking, better battery life. Also on top of that, the processor, they've added more performance to it. And it's a little bit more easier with the hand gestures. So HoloLens is basically a device that allows you to also see the space around you, and then it's basically like having holograms in front of you and playing in that kind of space, so it's a little bit more better hand gestures. First generation is a little harder to grasp those hand gestures, and a lot of customers who were using it didn't really understand it, so it's a little bit more easier with that. There's also a remote that you can opt into, so if your hands are getting tired of using all the hand gestures, you can use the remote, and it's called a clicker, and you can click on those holograms and those kind of images. There's another short video I'd like to show too. This is really cool.
When everything is on the line, what if there was a way for employees to work together from anywhere? When everything is on the line. Employees are the heart of every business. It's their resourcefulness, ingenuity, and drive that get the job done. But even the best employees need help from people who aren't there with them. Now employees on site can work side by side with experts in remote locations. In an instant, they can share what they see, lend a helping hand, walk through the process step by step, helping solve problems in real time. This is a new vision for work. Now employees can work smarter and bring in the people they need with just a tap. They can troubleshoot, repair, and perform with confidence and speed. They can move freely, pull critical information into view, and stay focused on the task. Their hands free to do the work. This is collaborative problem solving at full speed. Your people, united across time and distance, more connected, more informed, and more efficient. Now employees can work together from anywhere. They can go there without being there. This isn't the future. This is here and now.
So this follows with Microsoft's mission statement to empower every person and organization to do more. So there's no more loss of time at your business. There's no more, I need to call in a specialist, make an appointment, have this person. There's no more of that. There's more of, hey, I found a problem, there's a solution, let me get the person, let's get it done. So that way you're optimizing more time for your business, you're getting the right people in contact. That way you're optimizing your business level for more integration. So Microsoft's focusing more on the commercial side just because it's trying to reach out to those customers, seeing how it works for them, and seeing how it can be more optimized so that way the businesses can run much more efficiently. These real-time strategies, all these software is made by Microsoft, so 365 Dynamics, your Office 365 tools, things like that is all integrated in the headset. So once you sign into your profile, you can work on things right away. You can connect and collaborate with your team members. So it's a little bit more intuitive. It's much more faster and easier. So there's no more loss of time. I just like the engineering and design behind it just because of that time that you would be losing. Now you can focus on optimizing your business and getting that strategy and plan rolled out. So that was one segment of showing you how far the HoloLens has come. This is going to be pretty much the future of HoloLens and where Microsoft wants to take it. It wants to take it so then businesses can really optimize and be a much more efficient level. There's another video I want to segment into. This is pretty cool too. These are just kind of like a little bit of reviews and what people thought about it.
Is sketching something with my fingers in 3D space. What I'm doing right now is sketching something with my fingers in 3D space. I'm wearing a HoloLens 2, and it's now going to be available today to people who want to explore with it. This is an expensive headset, and it's an enterprise-focused headset, but it's designed to be more comfortable, to fit over my glasses, and to be worn for longer periods of time. In fact, it doesn't use any controller, which at first threw me off, but the hand tracking and the eye tracking make it so that you can start grabbing things and turning things, and it starts to feel intuitive, and maybe you start to forget, like I did, that I was wearing a headset at all. Show hand raise. Oh yeah. Navigating gets really cool and kind of feels superhero-ish. In the main menu, if you want to control and open apps with HoloLens 2, it casts out these beams from your hand. So I'm pointing across the room and I see this hand ray, and then if I want to open it up, I just point it down and then I tap my fingers together and the app opens. The field of view is big enough that even though you do get some cutoff, you can see most of the stuff perfectly fine. And there's a turbine that's here that's spinning, that's a 3D object. Now, if you want to share a 3D object with somebody and then say, how do I look at it? Now I could walk around it, get in close, and drag it around like a mouse on a screen. I can take it and pinch to make it larger or smaller by grabbing an edge. I can take both hands and shift it around and do that. And the weirdest thing is that there's a little blue box and I can tap so that it can follow me. Oh, hi Turbine, you're following me behind me. And my hand, if you're holding your hand up to the virtual object in front of it, it won't overlap like you would get on a phone app, which is pretty awesome. Also, eye tracking is new. There really are not that many devices that do eye tracking, and the ability to track what you're looking at is interesting and opens up opportunities. So what you'd actually use this for is a good question. Microsoft is definitely targeted at training because you could create some sort of a more complicated 3D space. It could be pretty large. It could guide you step by step with these floating dotted arrows that will tell you where everything is, and you can go over and interact with that space. And that toolkit is supposed to be easy enough for businesses to use and put together. Or if you're in this room and you say, well, this is what you want to do when you first go into the room, and then there's this arrow that would point over to like the bookshelf, and I would start there. HoloLens 2 costs $3,500 or more for bundles with Microsoft software. $3,500 is much more expensive than, say, your average VR headset, but it's kind of in the territory of where the original HoloLens was, and it's where those enterprise AR headsets and high-end mixed reality headsets tend to land. What HoloLens 2 does now is not going to be everything that HoloLens 2 aspires to do, and let me explain what I mean by that. Some of the promises for this, which involve doing things in the real world anywhere, or connecting seamlessly in the cloud to render really complicated graphics, are not here, but they're being worked on. It's not just going to require that service in the cloud, but it's also going to require really good wireless over time, and eventually you'll be thinking about things like 5G. We'll have to see how they evolve.
So this still follows under the same space. How many of you are familiar with the Oculus Quest? So this still follows that same space, same idea. Obviously, this one's going to be a little bit more performance, just because the Quest overruns on a Qualcomm Snapdragon processor. So this one's going to be optimized for better efficiency and responsiveness to what you're trying to do in that space. As you can see, he had basically a hologram that he can move, play around with. Eye tracking is also another opportunity Microsoft's focusing on. It's pretty much, this is like one kind of a headset of its own. It's nothing really like this on the market. I know there's other companies long ago before, like Google, who made Google Glass, trying to get into that space. They didn't really do so much, and they kind of failed, so they're not working in that space no more. So Microsoft's pretty much the only company that's doing this kind of technology in this kind of space. Right now, as you saw, he said price point's $3,500 starting. So it's not really for the consumer just yet, just because of the technology that's put into it. We did have consumers play around with it and see what the integration was like. Not a lot of them knew what they were trying to use and what they were doing. So not to say that Microsoft's not doing this kind of stuff in the future for consumers, but right now the emphasis and focus is on business to get them really optimized, integrated, and seeing trial and error and things like that, what's working for them, what's not working for them, how are they using it, and how are they not using it, just focusing on those aspects and regards. So that's a very cool walkthrough and video. I love CNETs and the reviews about what they thought about the HoloLens 2. One more video, and then we can also dive in and talk more about the HoloLens. This one's kind of cool, too.
But that's exactly how long Microsoft has taken to give us HoloLens 2. Yes, it's introduced a new mixed reality headset, which is practically better in every way and different in just as many. If you want a HoloLens 2, it's going to cost you $3,500. But then again, Microsoft doesn't really want you to buy it. This is aimed very much at businesses. Microsoft thinks it's nailed exactly what mixed reality is for, and that's education, and some mechanical engineering. So if you don't mind me, I'm going to go fix an airplane. It's got a Top Gun jacket. Brilliant. Yeah. So what's new on HoloLens 2? First of all, the field of view has been expanded hugely, and I don't mean just widening. Microsoft says it's also expanded it height-wise. So in short, it's no more of that tiny little mixed reality display. It's a lot more immersive, and it's a lot more useful. But before I go too heavy on the tech spec numbers, the main takeaway, at least for me, is how much more comfortable this new HoloLens is. Now, there's a lot of reasons for this, but perhaps one of the most major ones is the way that Microsoft has re-engineered the headset, bringing the weight from the front of the device to the back. This means it doesn't really rest on your nose so much, but more on your head. The refined design also includes just one single band that wraps around the back of your head, instead of having several straps messing up your hair. The HoloLens now has a carbon fiber build, which takes off some of that weight, and the whole thing seems to run a little less hotter, probably because it's not positioned against your forehead. That said, they have introduced a new brow guard, and that's also for hygiene reasons. If this is being used in hospitals or in messy engineer halls, it's just easier to clean, and it just makes a lot more sense for these enterprise uses that Microsoft is pitching. This time around too, the visor flips up, which makes a lot of sense if you're interacting with other human beings and not just staring at holograms. Now about those holograms, they're so much prettier this time. It might just be because the field of vision is so much bigger, but it feels a lot more immersive and less like a tech demo like the original HoloLens sometimes felt. How do they do it? This time around, they've embedded tiny cameras within the nose bridge, which are tracking both the distance of my pupils and generally what my eyes are doing. The clever part here is that that doesn't just mean a quicker start. That technology can also be used for eye tracking and even for retina scanning. Say you wanted to log into a system. That means you could kind of share a HoloLens between several people. They'd put it on, it would recognize your eyes, and you'd be right into the system with your own user profile. But back to fixing that plane, we were using Dynamics 365 Guides. It's a new program, it's a mixed reality app from Microsoft that was announced alongside the HoloLens 2. What does it do? The clue's in the name, it's guides. But they're a lot more exciting and surprisingly more fun than they sound. So the first instruction is I need to locate this wire and then pull it out and pull it up, out until tight, which I think I'm doing. Snap the wire down into the 4 clips. Do not interfere with the red box. Jesus, sounds serious. Guides mix together photos, text-based instructions, and, crucially, mixed reality holographic arrows. This means it's kind of hard to mess up, and it's kind of fun in the process. So now I need to tuck it into these clips. You can probably see these clips here running through. There's also a very gentle red outline of a red box that I am not allowed to touch. So you can't see it, only I can see it. It is kind of like Operation, you're right. The HoloLens 2 really shines when it's showing you things you can't see with your own eyes. So despite those holographic pointing arrows and red boxes, the way it was able to demonstrate what's inside things is fascinating. These were very simple demos, but you can kind of really get a sense for that kind of mixed reality, augmented reality upgrade that helps you figure out how to do your job. So it's interesting. So you can see there's several plugs I could go into here, but on the hologram, we've got 3 of them with a red cross over them. So obviously, I'm not going to be plugging it in there, so I can just go straight for the right one and hopefully get it right first time. But Microsoft demos here at MWC are only scratching the surface of the kind of things that are capable with mixed reality headsets. From Microsoft itself, it's been saying these headsets are tied into its own Azure surfaces, and that means cloud computing, AI, and all those kind of smarts. But what does that all mean for someone who's actually donning the HoloLens 2? It means the computer knows more, it's smarter. It means that while those cameras are looking at the objects, it doesn't just see dimensions. It can kind of contextually understand that, say, that's a sofa, that's a table, that might be where the model needs to go. It's all called semantic understanding, and that's where the real magic is with mixed reality. And again, sure, it could be any of these, but the HoloLens 2 is telling me this is the key I need. Yep, we got it.
Green light.
Got it. So relieved. And let's not forget, the HoloLens 2 also has a time-of-flight sensor built into it that can detect hands. That means less of this and more actual manipulation with your hands. You'll actually be able to extend objects, increase size, decrease size, all with a kind of very intuitive sense. So am I annoyed that Microsoft isn't selling this device at me, but more aiming it at businesses? Not really. It makes cold, hard business sense for the company to be selling this to other companies. And if we want mixed reality to become a reality, we need killer hardware and amazing features. At least Microsoft seems to know what it's doing this time, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Stay tuned to Engadget for lots more from MWC. We'll catch you around.
So that was another cool demonstration. He talked a little bit more about the hand gestures and how they are a lot more different. He was right before, there was a hand gesture called Bloom where you would make a fist, open up your hand and have your settings open, and then the pinching where you would click on things. So that was just, it started getting a little bit more gruesome and tiring as you were pinching and doing things. So the new hand gestures, eye tracking, and then the compatibility with the AI. So Microsoft's trying to work this with their AI and Azure tools. So this is helping you become a little bit more intuitive. It's picking up things just like you normally would in your head, and it's picking them up just as you would, so you're working together with the HoloLens. So it's a little bit easier. As you're working, it's picking up and doing everything you're trying to do. It has all the cameras and sensors built into the front part of the headset, so it's working with you. It's seeing those same problems and finding those same solutions for you, so that way you can get your job done faster and much more efficiently. The headset is a little bit more optimized, and the consumers aren't, like I said, not too upset that it's not ready for them, but it does make more sense for Microsoft to aim these at businesses, just for them being able to empower every organization to make sure that they're using all the technologies right, and getting that kind of feedback back and forth. So those full 4 videos I thought was very informative and cool, just because it gave you a little bit more perspective about where the direction Microsoft's heading, why it's taking this direction, and how it's optimizing every tool and use for these companies. It's also being used for like education purposes. So universities are using these to teach classrooms, getting them hands-on work like engineering and working on airplanes and things like that. Universities, and then on top of that, also hospitals are using them to just do a diagnosis of the human body, working in the inner parts, things like that. It gives you a real-time perspective, so that way if you are making mistakes, you're not hit with those big impacts and those consequences, and that you're learning from your mistakes in that augmented or mixed reality space right there. I love about it is that mixed reality, if you are not aware of it, is basically you're still seeing your space, but it's combining that space with holograms and other projectiles and combining that, so then that way they work together in that same space. So then you see everything that's happening all together in that same space. I thought what Microsoft is doing, this is just a stepping stone right now. It's not a finalized project. They're also working on a lot of collaborative tools, integrating Teams, Dynamics 365, Office 365 into that headset. And it's not limited to just one person profile. You can have 3 or 4 profiles in the headset, so you can sign into it, sign out of it, have the next person sign into it, sign out of it. So that way everybody has their own profile in the headset. HoloLens once was demonstrated the same way. You can even put a password, so that way everyone has their own protected accounts. You can buy multiple of them or just have one. The design is what's catching a lot of people's aspects, just because they made it so then you're still getting that much more battery life without impacting the head so much. The only problem with it was the first generation, once you wore it, it felt like you were wearing it too much, and that it was kind of giving you a little bit of neck pains and things, so they've improved on that. So if you have any other questions, feel free to ask. We can start doing like a Q&A and figuring out what you guys are looking forward into the future for HoloLens and where Microsoft wants to take it.
What is the field of view of the new HoloLens?
So it used to be pretty much, it was before I would say like a 90 degrees. Now it's more like a 180. Like you see everything from like literally from your perspective into the HoloLens. Because most of the time the HoloLens wasn't reading and the cameras wasn't more efficient, so you would have to be turning around a lot to see what the field of view was, but they've improved it. Now you can see everything in front of you, and then you can also turn around and see everything behind you and where you mapped all those holograms. Any other questions? Is anybody interested in, we have one over here.
Can multiple HoloLens interact with the same projected object?
Yeah, so that's the idea. Before the first generation wasn't working so much in that space, but they saw that there was a demand of it because more users were buying into it. So you can collaborate and have 2 people work on it. You saw that remote assist. You can work with Surface devices alongside with the HoloLens and have that collaborative tool too, but you can have 2 people use 2 different HoloLenses and work together on the same project. That's the whole idea about it, is being more collaborative, more intuitive, easier to work with, things like that.
I'm curious, because I haven't obviously had an opportunity to work with HoloLens, but from working with other AR platforms, there's usually like a bit of time if you're using like phone AR where it needs to like scan the room for a bit before you can actually start placing anchors. About how long does the HoloLens like take to do that, and do you kind of have to like swivel your head around the room for it to get anchors, or does it like how does it handle that?
Yeah, so on your phone, some phones may have 1 or 2 cameras. The HoloLens actually has about like 4 or 5 cameras in the front part. So once you put it on, It does take a little, like a few seconds, not like minutes, to map out the space. It uses the cameras and it starts analyzing the space within a few seconds. From there, after it's figured out your space and the boundaries, it'll start asking you where you want to start mapping and putting your apps and your holograms at. So with that, it takes within a few seconds after it maps out the space, because the cameras are more focused and they're angled at different parts. So your phone, you literally have to like scan and move your phone all over the place. The HoloLens already has the cameras built in on the headset, so it just starts mapping out the space as you're starting to wear it.
Just to follow up on John's question, the HoloLens actually has a 52-degree field of view
52.
for the holograms. It's 43 up and down, 29 left and right, which is bigger than the previous one. So you can see more. You still can't see everything you want to see, but they're getting.
Yeah, just because of the technology behind it, the processor, things like that, and the way the cameras are angled, they've tried to make it so that you still get much more field of view than the previous one. I saw somebody's hand up.
Can you stream the camera feed and the holograms to other people?
I haven't seen that done just yet. They're probably working on it. Not to say that they're not, but they haven't. It hasn't been used in that direction just yet.
One of the videos, or a few of them, suggested like a companion app or someone maybe on a PC interacting with the HoloLens and that information. Does Microsoft have like a framework already, or is that something that everyone's kind of putting their own thing together and using an API to interact?
So that interaction, Microsoft has a platform called Teams. They're either using Teams to interact and have that real-time discussion, and you can have multiple people in the Teams conversation working with you at once. So Microsoft what they're trying to do is just make a lot of their own apps to make sure that the integration is a lot easier. So Teams, if you are buying, like he said, there was different business packages. So the headset starts off at $3,500. If you need more business software like Dynamics 365, Teams and things like that, they bundle that into the headset and you're paying a little bit more, but you're getting the service where you can collaborate and work on those kind of projects together.
And if you need like any sort of customization, do they support that themselves, or?
The customization as far as?
Like say if you have a very different business that doesn't fit into whatever model they've already made, do they help you with that, or is that something that you kind of like?
So everything with the HoloLens is downloaded through the Windows Store. So if you don't use Teams, it's okay. You can still download and use the other apps, whatever. I know there's Slacks and things like that that other companies use. So we're not saying that you have to use Teams to use that. You can use your other platforms with it.
Unrelated to my earlier one, just curious, I don't know obviously how much you can say, but like the direction Microsoft intends to take HoloLens as far as like the target audience, because like you mentioned Google as well, like they both debuted Glass and HoloLens respectively as kind of like just this is a thing that exists, and both have kind of pivoted to target primarily enterprise customers. So is it for the foreseeable future just going to be focused on enterprise, or are there going to be attempts to move into other markets?
So they are definitely trying to see if they can expand to other markets. So what they'll probably do is just HoloLens is for business, and then they'll probably make another device for consumers when that time is ready. The HoloLens has just only been enterprise just because of the technologies and the time put into making that device. And respectively, Microsoft says that the HoloLens is first generation was 3,000 to 5,000. Now this one's 3,500. So even if it was consumer ready, 3,500 is still kind of a little steep. So right now they're just focusing on businesses, and then they're using all that feedback from the businesses. Maybe these are things that we need to improve on. These are things that are working, and then they'll probably maybe work on something like that for the next level.
Is there a specific component or reason it's like $3,500 versus like why is the price point so high? Like what about the HoloLens makes the price?
So the design, the cameras, battery, the software, it runs a custom software. It's not like a operating system like Windows 10. It's a whole custom software. So with all that, the design, with that being said, all that materials and things that the time spent to building into it, it's $3,500 because businesses, they are able to easily afford into that and get their business up and running. But on top of that, everything, the components that make that headset, there's a lot of time that went into it, and then the software to run it. And a lot of people intentionally may use it and don't realize that, hey, there's some much more features than what I'm using it for that they're not taking advantage of.
If I'm an enterprise and I want to get started, do I buy several HoloLenses and develop a development team to write my own custom apps, or is there an SDK available? What is it that Microsoft provides to get my application on?
So you can work with your own third-party developers if you find them. Microsoft does have a team of developers that can help design and make those apps specifically for your business. And you can go through our enterprise channel, buy the headsets, work with our developers, and they can make whatever you want for your business and cater to your needs. It doesn't mean that you have to buy the headset and figure out everything yourself. Once you buy the headset, you do get a lot of Microsoft support for their enterprise channel, and they can work with you and make those development and apps things come true.
Can we download an SDK and do it ourselves?
You could make your own apps. Yeah, Microsoft's not saying that you can't. You can make your own software and make your own things. Everything that they do are added through the Microsoft Store, and you can download all of your apps and things like that through there. So you can work with Microsoft and have it available in the App Store where you can download it and put it on your headset. Who here uses any mixed reality headsets? We got 1, 2. I assume everyone else uses virtual reality. All right, yeah, so that space is pretty much the same. If you're more interested in seeing how mixed reality works, we do have a partnership with Samsung, Acer, HP, and Dell. They make their own mixed reality headsets. And all you have to do is essentially it's a plug-and-play device. So you plug it into your laptop. You can download Steam support, so you can download the Steam games to run with it. There's not a lot of setup with that requirement. It has the same kind of specs as far as where the cameras are angled. You don't need built-in like standalone lighthouses or sensors to work with it. You plug and play. It works with your Windows 10 PC. Everything that you download is coming through the Windows Store, so it is safe and certified, and it runs pretty well. If you feel like you want to play like games like Space Pirates or things like that, you can download that and use it like a virtual reality space too. Any other questions or anything? Any concerns? Was this pretty informational? Was this very, very intuitive as far as what you thought what HoloLens 2 is going to be about and what Microsoft is going to take that direction towards? If you have any other questions or anything, I have my business cards. Feel free to shoot me an email or whatever, or any concerns or any of your thoughts, and I can help you relay that to the right people at Microsoft.
What games have you seen on HoloLens? Because I'm sure once the developers do have it in their hands, I have seen the games written. Mostly I think they're either dead or free ones. Which ones do you like?
For the HoloLens, so they're the HoloLens. They have a couple games where they have like a couple animals where you can kind of move them around and play with them, stretch them out. There's not too many games with the HoloLens, just because everyone else is focusing on Steam, HTC, and everything else. So the games with the HoloLens, they haven't been in an expanded market just yet, but they are making a lot of cool games, more intuitive. They have one called Minecraft Earth. That's an AR game. Works with your iPhone too, where you can play with your Minecraft, all the little creatures and things like that, and build on top of that space. Microsoft's heavily focusing on that just because they know that space is big for Minecraft and how augmented reality is going to be able to work with that.
Do they have games for the educational market?
So we have, right now in education, we have Minecraft Education where you can buy Minecraft Cloud Seats and you can teach coding and use Minecraft as a tool to help kids get engaged with more coding and learn how to build their own code and things like that with Minecraft.
does that application actually exist yet in other hospitals or other facilities or even like universities using that software? So that connects that HoloLens?
So there's multiple applications with hospitals and universities. That one does exist. You'll see other ones too. So what they do is the hospitals have the HoloLens, and then they ask a developer to make a software for them, and then they add it to the Microsoft Store, and then they download it. If you go to the Microsoft Store, you type in HoloLens, you'll see all the cool applications. And if there's not something on there that meets your business needs, you can always work with the developer, and they can make that application for you. A lot of those apps that you saw in the demo are available now and that you can download and use right away.
It's a $6 device, right? $60 device?
Yes.
Just check.
I was going to ask, what specifically have you worked on for the HoloLens, like with Microsoft? Like, what's your main position there, or like working with it?
So I'm the gaming expert. So I run and work in the gaming space for Microsoft. I run gaming tournaments. I go to conventions, events. I'm basically the face and brand, trying to build excitement and fans for Xbox and PC, and also virtual reality. Right now, Microsoft's not doing a lot of virtual reality with the Xbox consoles. Not to say they're not doing it at all, but right now, Phil Spencer thinks that there's not a need for it, just because of what's already out there and that's available. He thinks that everyone else is just going to be using all those tools and getting immersed with what's already available right now.
I guess follow up. What have you seen that people are most excited about the HoloLens, like to do with it or work with it, I guess?
The most exciting thing is just the real-time engagement and working with the developers to make the right apps for them. So being able to just find a certain component, communicating with somebody, working on that same project, and being able to send it off to your other team. So that whole collaborative aspect is what Microsoft's focus on, is what is grabbing the attention for the customers.
When they do multi-user, is it more than just two? Can you be in a room with 4 or 5 HoloLens, people will see them? Rec Room is one of the more popular multi-user stuff on the other platforms. You have the equivalents for telepresence.
That is definitely the idea. Microsoft is focusing on that. There is multi-use for it. You can have 2 HoloLenses in the same space. You could sign into different profiles and things like that. There was a big demand for it when the HoloLens 1 was released, so they are definitely working on that, making that more a collaborative tool. So when you use Teams to be able to collaborate with your team, you can definitely have more than one person using that headset. Any other questions, any concerns or anything?
Who wants to try one?
They're very cool. If I would see in the foreseeable future, we'd probably have one, and we have Microsoft stores in the area. So we did have the HoloLens. One's on demo at the Microsoft store at Tyson's Corner. They haven't released the second one out for demo yet for the store. It will probably be coming in the foreseeable future as they're trying to meet with the demand for the businesses.
As soon as that happens, we expect to have a DC VR meeting in the store.
Yeah, of course. So you can definitely meet up with Steve, and definitely flag him and send him an email right away and have a demo session with that.
Well, if there's no more questions, thank you for coming, and please say thank you to those others.